Group project. But that's what everyone else is doing, so we should too. I had to draw the whole storyboard by myself. I was the only one in the group who had any idea how to use iMovie. I was not doing the greatest. Bulimia. The girls started manically giggling to themselves for some reason.
See, switch places with Ray.
It was cold as balls outside. Anyway.
We decided to meet up one day after school. Maybe on a Tuesday, I think, I'm not sure. And just try to get this thing over with, hopefully during an evening where it wouldn't rain. So, after school was over, I decided to stick around campus and wait until the sun had finally decided to go to bed for the day. Given that we had agreed to meet up at like 5 p.m. because we knew that the sun took early days off during the winter. And given that class normally ended at around 3:30, all I'd have to do was keep myself entertained for a good hour and a half. What you say? Why didn't I just go home and wait in my nice, warm, soft, comfy bed? Well, because I lived in another city at the time. And I would take the train every morning from my hometown down to the larger town that my college just so happened to be in. And then take a good 8-minute bus ride from the station to campus, which equals about a good 50 minutes of travel time just to get to campus, and another 50 to get back home, plus the 20 minutes to get from the station to my house once I arrived back in town, making it a daily commute of at least 2 hours. And honestly, I was just better off waiting until sundown to finally get this piece of absolute bull honky over with. And once the sun had finally decided to clock out for the day, we could get started on this nonsense. First, we started with setting up the tent, which, given that it was pitch black outside, took a lot longer than we originally intended. A good 40 minutes, actually. 40 minutes of 4 stupid, tired, and frustrated college students trying their damnedest to pitch a tent in a small park at 5:30 p.m. during a cold, dark, and somehow wet December evening. I can only imagine what that must have looked like to the poor random people walking their dogs in that park.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Anyway, when the tent was finally up and ready to go, we could finally start filming. And because we were all just 100% done with anything and everything involving this project, we literally only did one take of each shot. Yes, really. That's how done we were with this whole thing. Because it was cold, dark, somehow wet even though it wasn't raining yet, and all of us just wanted to go home so we could finally eat our dinner in peace. However, the tent we had to be in for the scene was small. Like, really small. So having 2 people in it was already a stretch. But now we needed to fit dear old Ray in there as well, which basically turned into the most uncomfortable game of Tetris that I have ever played in my life. And not only was this uncomfortable, but it also made most of the footage from that scene almost completely unusable. However, Ray didn't seem to notice this. Or, let's just be real here, she most likely just didn't care. Because I didn't find out about this until later, when I had already started editing. But whatever, we got it done, we had the footage, now we could finally go home and actually rest for the day. Except it was like 6:30 p.m. and all the buses in this area had stopped running for the day. Which meant I had to walk back to the station on foot, which was gonna take at least another 20 minutes. Just so that I could get on the 40-minute train ride back home. Shut up.
An hour and 15 minutes later.
Oh, hi, honey. Your dinner's in the oven if you want it. You're home pretty late today. How was school? 2 days later, when we once again meet up for media class, I took all of the footage we had recorded on that shitty little handheld video camera that the school gave us, and transferred it directly to my MacBook Pro. And then I noticed something that made my heart stop. Ray apparently doesn't know all that much about filmmaking or shot composition, despite the fact that she has been taking media class lessons at least twice a week for the last 6 months. Because when I looked at the footage, I quickly noticed that the rule of thirds, the rule in filmmaking that ensures that the thing that you're asking the viewer to pay attention to remains within these general lines, because that's where the attention of the audience usually falls when looking at an image. Which Ray somehow completely forgot all about that. We also didn't have any establishing shots of the tent or the park, which meant I couldn't use establishing shots to help create a sense of atmosphere. The dialogue scenes didn't have any focus at all. So whenever the characters had to spit out exposition, we didn't do that thing where when two characters talk to each other, you swap between two different over-the-shoulder shots so that the audience has an easier time keeping track of who's talking. And of course, as I had predicted, the tent scene was bad. But I was not prepared for just how bad it really was. You see, Ray, for some reason, during the scene where the girls freak out because they hear footsteps in the middle of the woods at night, didn't tell us that she was having trouble balancing the camera in such a small space. Meaning it looked like something out of the Blair Witch Project. Except the tent was in a life raft in the middle of the ocean.
Hey, you okay, dude?
Yeah, man. I'm doing great. No problem, bro.
While I come up with brilliant plans, you guys just goof around like dum-dums. 'Cause you're dumb. Dumb. Dummy-dums.
I was fucking livid. Not at them, but at myself, for having any faith in humanity in the first place. Because apparently this is what it gets you in real life. And I had to learn it the hard way, because now I had to figure out how to edit this garbage footage together in such a way that I could actually show this to the entire class by the end of the week, without having to enter into the witness protection program afterwards. Funnily enough, the only halfway decent shot that we had for this film was the panorama shot that I filmed. Granted, maybe I'm just a narcissistic, self-absorbed prick, but personally, the stark contrast between these two styles of camera work was really noticeable. So much so, in fact, that I wasn't even sure if I could use my own footage in the film. But I was just so beyond done at that point that I just decided to use it anyway, just so that we wouldn't have to record again. And I spent the next week and a half working as hard as I could, trying to make something salvageable out of this pile of spoiled dog food that I was forced to work with. And during this entire process, I was legitimately considering scrapping everything we had recorded and just make a badly drawn cartoon, just because I knew that this film was definitely going to be one ginormous waste of everyone's time, especially for the people who are gonna have to watch it afterwards. The only reason why I didn't do that was essentially because, even though I'd like to believe that I am indeed the hottest piece of shit that has ever and will ever live on this planet, I also had to be real with myself and face the fact that there was no way in the eternally burning fires of hell that I could ever meet our deadline, which was basically just 1 week away. So I didn't do it, thankfully, but I was thinking about it the entire time, while angrily cursing these 3 idiots for trapping me in this hellish nightmare. Then I finally came to the ending credits. Can you guess what I decided to do? That's right! I pulled a Jaden Animations and wrote my name everywhere in the ending credits, to be as passive-aggressive as humanly possible. And somehow no one noticed. At least not until we had to present the film in front of the whole class, right before we went off on Christmas holiday. Ha! Take that, suckers! And the film was awful, by the way. There was no way for me to salvage this mess, no matter how many fancy editing tricks I tried to pull out of my sleeve. And obviously, the teacher didn't really have much to say afterwards. given that it seemed like no one involved in this project had any idea what they were doing. The only thing she had to say about it at all was
That the editing was really good.
what?
I said the editing was really good. Really good. Really good. Really good.
Yeah! Ah, that felt so good. It almost made this hellish nightmare worth it. Almost. Only almost. Because with that statement alone, I knew for a fact that if I had been allowed to do this project by myself like I wanted, I could have actually made something halfway decent. That the teacher might actually have been able to say something about. But no! Instead, I was forced to make this garbage. And make something so pathetically bad that even the teacher didn't feel like wasting her breath commenting on it at all.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all so much. Couldn't have done it without ya.
Ugh. Group projects suck. That's the conclusion. Bye.
Oh, thank God it's over. Now I can finally put this back into the dark abyss of my soul, where it will never see the light of day ever again. But let me know in the comments, do you have similar stories to this? I mean, I know we all have terrible group projects, but there's gotta be a limit to how bad it can get, right? Right? Anyway, see you later, guys. Bye.